Hey guys, Justin here with Muddy River Outdoors, and I have here my RPM Nitro that I just got back from getting hydro dipped, and this thing is absolutely sick. This turned out so good. I'm so happy with this. It's like a green flame type of color, and I just couldn't be happier with this thing. I sent this off to Benny with Fish Sticks Bowfishing. He's out of South Carolina, and going over to his Facebook and YouTube page and check out all things that he's got going on there. Like his page, share his stuff. Do me a favor, and if you could like, subscribe, and share my YouTube and Facebook stuff, that's always much appreciated. But right now what I want to do is just a quick little video on putting this thing back together. I by no means am an expert at the RPM lever bow, so I'm going to do the best I can to get this thing put back together, and I'll go over a couple little things that were problems for me when I was tearing it down and put it back together the first time, so maybe I can help a couple guys out on their first go around at this. But like I said, I'm not an expert at this, so if I make mistakes or something, please leave some comments and give me some advice. And anyhow, let's get into this thing. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to take my power limb and my curved limb, and I need to get the hardware put back together on it. So I have one here that I've already put the hardware back together on, and this is one of the problem areas that I had when I was taking it apart. So what I want to point out about this assembly right here is that there is a hinge right in the middle here, and there's no way to get to the screw heads with your Allen wrench without taking the pin out of this hinge, and that pin is just held on with a couple of super small little circlips. I mean, these things are so small they're probably not even showing up on the camera. But do yourself a favor, just pull that pin out of the hinge and take that hinge apart before you try to tear your limbs completely apart. There's just not enough room to get your Allen wrench. See, when they're together, there's just not enough room to get your Allen wrench down in the middle here to get those screws out, and you'll just end up stripping that screw head out trying to get in there. So pull the hinge apart, and then you can get in there and get it taken apart and put back together. Okay, so I've got the hardware put back on my curved limb and my power limb, and all I'm going to do is just put the hinge back together like that. Slide the pin through and put these itty bitty little clips back in. And that's it. So your limbs are back together, and they're ready to go on the riser. One other thing that I forgot to mention, on your curved limb, you need to put your saddle on. So the saddle is got a triangular shape. The tip of the triangle goes up, just like that. And then on the back side, there's this little nut that slides up inside. and then you can just tighten it down. I have also put my cable in place on that. Don't tighten that down tight at first, because you may need to shift this cable one way or the other to get everything to line up good in your cams. So just put it on there just tight enough to hold it in place. So I'm going to do that with both of them. Okay, so the next piece that I want to put together on my bow here is I want to put the timing wheel and the cam and the shaft back on, the upper and the lower assemblies back on the riser. So the first one that I'm going to put on is the assembly that has the tensioner hole in it that the timing cable goes in. And this little screw right here, you turn it, and that's what tightens the timing cable. So I'm going to put that one in first. That assembly goes at the bottom, on the bottom side of the riser. And when you're putting this on, which you definitely want to make sure that the timing wheel is on the same side of the riser as what the timing cable is going to come through and be on. The timing cable will ride on these bearings right here on this side and this side both. So your timing wheel needs to be on that side. It would be possible to go ahead and put this together with the timing wheel on the wrong side. So just keep that in mind when you're putting this back together, so that you don't get the assembly put on and go, oh crap, I got to tear it back apart, and do it the right way. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that down in there. Before I do that though, one thing that you want to make sure you do when you're putting this back together is put grease on all of the moving parts. I know all of the RPM videos, they use white lithium grease. There's nothing wrong with that. What I've used for everything, always, I've used this Bel-Ray waterproof grease. I use this on, when I used to race motorcycles, I used this on everything, and I still do. I love it. So that's what I use. It's not white lithium grease, but just as good as far as I'm concerned. So use whatever you like. Grease is grease as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just going to put a little bit of coat of this grease on that shaft. I'm going to slide the shaft through my bearings here in the riser, making sure that I'm on the same side with my timing wheel and my timing cable bearings. Come to the other side, and I'm going to put on the cam on the other side here. You can't really mess this up too bad because this shaft that comes through here, it's got like a hex head on it, and that lines up with notches in your cam. So you can't really mess that up too bad. Just slide it right on there, and then I'll go ahead and tighten down. There's a set screw right on the inside here of that cam that tightens down onto the shaft. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down, if I can come up with the right Allen wrench. They do send all the Allen wrenches that you need to assemble and disassemble this thing, but I have a hard time keeping track of things, so I lost that particular one. All right, so I got my lower cam and timing wheel put in place. Now I'm going to come to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing, the same type of assembly, same thing on the other side. So when you put your limbs on the bow, you've got these saddles here. And you want to make sure that you put grease in these saddles. Put grease all up in the inside and also on the back side here and in this curved piece. Any place that is going to come into contact with the bow or the limbs, make sure to grease that all really good. So once you got your saddle put in place, you want to get your long bolt here and this nut that goes on the inside of the riser. It slides through. I'm going to slide it through the front here so maybe you can see it. So it goes right in that hole right there in the riser. And it likes to fall out. One thing that helps is to put these saddles on like this so that the bow will kind of sit in place. Okay. Again, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on my limb here because this is what's going to go inside the limb pocket. And it will move and flex a little bit, so just to make sure there's nice smooth operation, just a little bit of grease on everything. To make that a little easier, before you put your limb in there, go ahead and just kind of loosely put your bolt in place. You can see the threads. If you're looking through there, you can see the threads line up. If you're trying to do that with the limb in place, you can't see the threads, so it makes it rather difficult. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten this down just a little bit. The reason I'm tightening this down is just to kind of keep it in place while I put the other one in. I'm going to end up having to loosen this back up to get the cables all ran and in place, but I'm going to do that for now just to keep it in the saddle. I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now that we've got our energy limbs put into our saddle, we need to make sure that we've got this nut on the back, or this bolt on the back side here, screwed out quite a ways. You need quite a bit of gap in between the riser right here and the pocket, the limb pocket. Get yourself quite a bit of distance in there. If you don't have enough gap in there, enough distance, it's going to make these cables too tight and you're going to really struggle to get them put onto the cam. So get that distance in there. First thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put the saddle cable on first. The saddle cable is the front cable here, and just take that, and that cable actually goes on the outside. So just put the little copper piece on the bottom of the cable, put it into this pocket right here on the cam, roll the cam forward just a little bit, and now your cable is in place on that side. Do the same on the other side. Put it in that little pocket. And now it's in place. Now you're ready to go ahead and put your cam cable in place. That cable goes on the inside. So I'm just taking it, I'm putting it in the pocket, I'm rolling the cam forward just a little bit and putting it in place. Same thing on the other side. Putting it in the pocket. Roll the cam forward just a little bit. And now my cable is in place. Okay, oops. Make sure that your cables are nice and centered in the saddles here, the front and back saddles. Make sure that cable is nice and centered. Okay, looks good. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of pressure on these by turning the screw down, the bolt down, just to kind of keep these in place a little bit. Now I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with, okay, so now we're going to want to get our timing cable put in place. To put our timing cable in place, we're going to split it in half, and over here on the tensioner side, the tensioner cam side, we're going to put 1/2 of the timing cable through the middle here. So that we're like this. We're going to want to take our timing cable and we're going to feed it into the hole that's in the timing cable cam, or the timing cable roller, and have it come out like this. Have it come out just a little bit like that. Then we can take our keeper here and put it like this. And then just shove that inside. Okay, so getting this cam cable on here is a little bit more difficult to do on camera for you guys to get a good idea of it. So sorry about that, but just one thing that I want to make a note of: when you're putting this cable on, it's coming across these cam rollers right here, and one side of the cable is coming across the bottom roller, the other one's coming across the top roller. But when you get to the other side, you need to make sure that those cables actually crisscross, so that the one that was on the bottom on this side is on the top on this side, and vice versa. Because if you don't have it do that, they're actually going to fight against each other, and you won't be able to draw the bow. You'll know right away if you don't have these correct. And so if you go to draw the bow and you just can't do it, you know it's because you got this timing cable messed up. Just go in there. That's super easy to correct. You just have to take it off of this side here and just flip-flop them on this side, and you'll be good to go. So that's just a note that I'd like to let everybody know about that timing cable. Like I said, I apologize, I wasn't able to get the installation of that on camera very well. It was one of those things I had to work close to my body. And so anyway, if you have any questions on that, go to the RPM Bowfishing website, and he has got an amazing set of videos on how to put this thing together. Like I said, I'm not a professional at it, so definitely go and check out the professionals at RPM Bowfishing on how to set this thing up. Okay, so one of the last things that I need to go ahead and do is I need to put my bowstring on. That's pretty easy on these nitros, because when you loosen up the limbs on it, they still stay in one piece. You don't have to have a bow press or anything to remove or install the string. All you have to do is just loosen the screws to get it to where you can compress it by hand, and you can take it on and off that way. So I'm going to go ahead and get that installed. Okay, so it's that simple to install it. I just put the string over the limb on this side, put the other end down on my boot, pressed down on it, and was able to put the string on the other side, and the string's installed. It's that simple. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and tighten it down, tighten these screws down to the poundage that we're looking for. Then once you get it close to the poundage that you're looking for, the next thing that you're going to need to do is check it for tiller. My understanding of the way to check it for tiller is you're going to go to this area right here, and you're going to measure from this spot coming up to the string, and those need to be almost exact the same. If they're not exactly the same, then the way to correct that is by tightening or loosening the screws on either side, either limb here, and that will change the distance on one side or the other, whatever you need. So that's just a matter of you messing with it just a little bit and figuring out what it's going to take. But you got to have that timing, or that tiller set. Otherwise, these aren't they're not gonna pull the same across the whole bow. So get that set. And then, but one other thing that you want to make sure that when you're doing that, you want this screw right here, you want that loose. That screw, it makes it so that you're not putting pressure on your timing cable. You don't tighten that screw up until very last. Pretty much anytime you're doing anything with changing these nitros, the first thing you want to do is loosen this screw on your timing cable that gives it so that timing cable is slack and it doesn't put undue stress on that cable. Once you've got everything set the way you want it, then you come back in and tighten that down. All right, guys. Well, I guess at the end of the day, I absolutely suck at putting this RPM together. I got it together correctly, I think. But it's not that they're that hard to work on. It's just more a matter of it's really hard to do it on camera, especially if you're not really good at it, which I obviously am not. But more than anything, what I really wanted to do was just show off the hydro dip job that I had done to this thing. I also had the power limbs here. You can see I had done in this carbon fiber look, along with the green flames. So just really excited about how this thing turned out. So anyhow, again, wasn't the greatest video in the world, but just wanted to get it out there. Wanted to give a big shout out to Benny over at Fish Sticks Bowfishing for doing this for me. Thanks a lot, Benny. Get over there, like, subscribe to his stuff, and as always, I really appreciate it if you guys could like or dislike my video, and but more than anything, just hit that subscribe button, and I'll get back at you with another video, hopefully a better one. Thanks.